Brighton's finest.
Brighton's finest. Juice.
So I'm speaking with Jen Cloher. You've actually released one of my favourite albums of last year. It's a sublime release, and
thanks.
I'm going to question you on that a little bit later, but I want to first chat to you about your background a little bit, because you are a label boss for one of the coolest record labels, indie record labels in Australia, Milk Records. That must have given you an interesting window into the industry behind the music.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's something I never imagined doing. Courtney had wanted to start a record label, and I didn't really understand why you'd want to do all that work. So I kind of watched her start Milk Records, and then I became fascinated because I'd been running workshops for independent artists for a few years called I Manage My Music, where we sort of, I guess it's kind of a forum for independent artists to come together and just talk about the challenges and realities of releasing and touring music in Australia. And then to kind of see Courtney start this label, it really reflected back a lot of my values as far as working in a community, banding together with fellow like-minded artists, I guess being self-sustaining, making kind of a sustainable music practice. You know, a record label is a means of commercialising your music and offering it up for sale and growing an audience and a fan base. And Milk Records is very much a community of Melbourne-based artists. A lot of us are friends. We play in each other's bands. It's a very localised label, I guess.
You said it yourself. How do you find time to run a label as well as being a rock star?
I guess it's kind of learning how to sort of juggle the two things. I mean, at the moment, you know, I'm on the road and I'm touring, but I'll be home in March and I'll have time to sit down and do a lot of label work then. And I guess it's also just learning how to kind of use your time. So I'll usually spend the morning writing music and then spend from lunchtime onwards attending to label stuff and emails and correspondence.
That sounds like quite an all right lifestyle to me.
It's great. And you've nailed it. You know, I get to do what I love.
Very much so. And you're also very lucky to be based in Melbourne, right? In Australia, which is kind of a place I liken a lot to Brighton in a sense, because it's very young. Yeah. It's got a huge student population, which means there's a real strong art and music culture. I guess the only thing that's missing is trams and the weather. But you must have been a part of Melbourne's music scene for quite a while, I can imagine now. How do you think it's changed in that time since you started going to shows and playing your own gigs?
I think there's always been a really incredible music community in Melbourne, which is largely due to excellent community radio stations. So Triple R and PBS are both based in Melbourne and have a really big listenership and subscribership. I think if you have great radio in that city, it really helps a lot of bands, you know, sort of grassroots bands, find an audience and have their music heard early in their career.
Yeah.
And I think also there's always just been a great live scene in Melbourne, so lots of venues, lots of smaller venues where artists who are just starting out can play a residency and find an audience for their music. And then there's also the label scene in Melbourne, so you've got lots of independent record labels who are fantastic, you know, like Milk Records, Bedroom Suck, Chapter, Mistletoe, Poison City, just like heaps and heaps of small record labels.
Yeah.
It's always about the people that are in that scene and willing to put in the hours and are passionate about, you know, the music community and documenting the music community that they're part of.
Brighton's finest.
Brighton's finest. Juice.
One of the main reasons I'm speaking to you now is that currently on a month-long tour, which has taken you to the States and to Europe, where you are at the moment, and includes, I think, 5 days in the UK with a stop in Brighton, which is really exciting because I can't remember seeing your name on the bill here before, and obviously there's a lot of excitement because the gig has been upgraded to a bigger venue. Yeah,
I think we started, I can't remember what venue we started at in Brighton, but they moved it up to Pattons, and Pattons is sold out. So, you know, it's a great first show in Brighton. I'm absolutely over the moon. It's really exciting.
Can you tell me a bit about your live show? Because I haven't seen it, and I can imagine a lot of other people haven't either. So what could we expect?
Yeah. If you're a fan of the album, then the live show, I guess, is really just an extension of that. I mean, the album was recorded live to tape. It's a fairly honest, straightforward rock album, I guess. And I guess the live show just is a more exciting, robust extension of that. And also we've had, a year playing the album and getting to know the songs and finding our way as a band within those songs. So I feel like, it's more exciting. The songs have become more exciting and bigger and bolder.
Mm. And as you say, you said it was recorded live, and I think one of the best things about the album is that its rawness and intimacy as well.
Mm.
And I can imagine that's going to be, it's going to suit itself to a live setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the subject of the album, the album before this self-titled one had more of a folk influence to it, when this has its folk elements, but it's a lot more of a rock album, I'd say.
Yeah.
Was there a reason to kind of shift the style of music, or did that kind of happen naturally?
Definitely my first two albums were more sort of folk influenced. There's still a good amount of indie rock there, but I think, they were predominantly folk albums, and I was playing acoustic guitar. And then my last two, so my most recent that we've been talking about and the album before it, I moved over to electric guitar, really just as a way of keeping myself interested and trying something different. And so I think just by the very nature of playing more electric guitar, it sort of changes the way you write and the way you play. And I guess, it's developed. Most recent album is probably a little bit more rockier than the last, because I've become a little more confident with playing electric guitar and sort of found my own style and had the opportunity to write some more songs on electric. So it's sort of never really been a conscious decision. It was more just moving into that world because I wanted to play more electric guitar.
Cool.
It's more fun.
Yeah, I bet it is. Interesting you said, more confident playing, because one of the first things you can take from the album is how relaxed the feel is. Even though it's quite an open album, like the album's called Your Name, the subject is you. It feels like you're almost in a really good space, you're with people you were trusting, and just enjoyed the recording.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we treated the kind of recording as some time away from the city, and we went out and recorded it in regional Victoria, in a really beautiful part of Victoria that's quite similar to the sort of English countryside, like beautiful rolling green hills and the ocean nearby. And we just hired a house and would go in and record sort of 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then come home and cook dinner and just hang out, really. So it felt very kind of relaxed, and we took pets and partners came down, and there was never a feeling of being in the studio and being under pressure and having to get this take right and move along, and all of that pressure that you can sometimes feel when you're in an expensive studio wasn't there. So I think as a result, you just got these really nice sort of relaxed performances from the band, which was what I was after. I just wanted the album to feel very, just the performance of the songs to feel very genuine and heartfelt and real.
Brighton's finest.
Brighton's finest. Juice.